Human Services Committee. We have a quorum, and Senator Hodges, do you mind opening us up in prayer?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us, Lord, particularly the opportunity to live in this beautiful state. Lead us and guide us as we tend to the affairs of the people of our state, and grant us the wisdom to make the right decisions. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Governor's Floor Leader. We certainly appreciate that. And just for the public notification, because we did have some folks sign up, SB 331 we are not doing today. It still has some more work to be done, and so interested parties will get together and work on that. So obviously we won't have any testimony on that. So we have two bills today. We have House Bill 181, and that is in your packet. And we have House Bill 502. We're going to do House Bill 181 first. I think you still have someone maybe caught in traffic, or Representative Silcox, or did they make it, or? They've not made it, but hadn't made it. You're prepared one way or the other, but we'll let you go second if that's okay. We have heard House Bill 181. How many times has it been in this committee now, Representative?
Last year?
181.
It feels like 181 times. Yeah, but I tell you, yes, yeah. Okay. So at least two times this year. Two times last year also? Two or three times last year. I think we've heard enough. We're not going to do testimony, but Mr. Haddow, I understand you did sign up and you did testify last time, and we're going to voice your opposition to this, and that is duly noted.
There's other issues that have arisen, Mr. Chairman, that we'd like to address.
We're not going to do testimony today on this. We've done it. You've spoken. But we're going to go over the bill and the changes. And that's what Representative Townsend's going to do right now. You just take the podium if you don't mind. We're going to put you on the hot spot. That's what we're going to discuss.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Wait. Do you want Chairman Brass to
yes, sir.
present the changes?
We met before. I'm going to let Senator Brass do his substitution.
Or your preference. Do you want him to talk, or you want to talk?
I'll get to the changes.
Okay. All right. Representative Brass.
Representative Brass.
I'm sorry.
Promote me?
Chairman. Goodness gracious.
You've been hanging around me too long,
My
Mr.
bill just
Senator
died
Brass.
in his committee. I tell you what. Goodness gracious.
Dang.
All righty. Okay. I'm sorry,
All
Chairman.
right, I'm number 3.
I got you.
So
Pardon?
so it's LC 520420S is my final answer.
Yes, LC 52. That's the Ms. Crittenden is here, and 0420S. Okay.
Yep.
All righty.
So in working after hearing testimony and working with Representative Townsend on this, kind of just refresh y'all a little bit. There's several concerns I had in the bill. One is at the retail level, I felt like we were over penalizing them for something that they may not know about, and so really most of the changes reflect around that. And also I wanted to capture, I didn't want the retailer to be too scared to sell the product, because there are people that use it responsibly and effectively, and it works for them. But we need to clean up the industry, and only way to do that is through regulations and through penalties. And so we tried to kind of thread the needle on this, and I think we've captured it. Representative Townsend and I, we think we've captured it. We've gone through. Ms. Crittenden was great and was able to make the changes, but I'll go through those. So first thing we did is on lines 27 and 30, we broke out in the definitions processor and retailer. So processors, basically your manufacturer, retailers, point of sale. Okay, so that's the first thing we did. Getting down into section 2, again, still you got to be 21 years of age. You got to show proper identification. Getting down into lines 56 is where we're eliminating the vaping. That's the heating element. Line 66 through 68, that's the requirement that it has to be sold behind the counter, and that's to prevent it from being sold on the floor next to energy drinks or other items that shouldn't be mixed with it. Now, for any of those offenses, that's whether you're possessing under 21, you're selling to under 21, or you're vaping, we've got penalties in there. Your first offense it cannot exceed $250. Your second offense cannot exceed $500, and the third offense cannot exceed $1,000. Now, getting down into section 3. This is where, starting on line 79 and going through there is really going through the labeling. They are going to have to be properly labeled. And getting on down into lines 104, the processor is going to have to register with the Secretary of State, just like any other business. So they will, says, shall maintain a registered agent in this state for service of process for the entire duration of such entity's engagement in the business of a processor. Now, getting down into lines 132, this is where, or I'm sorry, back up into lines 127. These are our penalties. All right, so for a processor who knowingly or with criminal negligence, if they commit an act against anything in that section 3, meaning they didn't properly label, they didn't register with the Secretary of State, if they do this knowingly or criminal negligence, and what I learned is criminal negligence is you didn't necessarily mean to kill somebody, but somebody died, or you didn't mean to hurt them, but they got hurt because of your negligence. So that's what criminal negligence is. If a processor, or even a retailer for that matter, and that's retailers on line 134, if they knowingly or with criminal negligence commit an act under this code section, then they will be held as a misdemeanor of that high and aggravated nature, and it can be up to 15 years and not to exceed $100,000 or both. So that's again, they have to knowingly do it or criminal negligence. Now, when you get into simple negligence, this is where we've broken it out between processor and retailer. The processor who negligently commits an act under this code section is going to be guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to a fine not to exceed $1,000. Retailer who does this, so at the retail level, again, this is down in lines 139. Their first offense is going to be $250. Second offense, $500. $1,000 for the third offense. And then at the fourth offense, we're saying at that point, it's knowingly, you're knowingly doing it. You should know better by now. And so then you go back up to you're subject to those same penalties under knowingly or with criminal negligence. So we've done that. And then we put in a statement there on lines 148. And this gives the retailer a little protection. You know, basically their job is to abide by putting it behind the counter, making sure it's labeled properly. And as long as they've done that, then they're not going to be held responsible for, you know, testing the product. We don't want them out there testing to see if it meets all those other standards that we laid out. So that gives them a protection. And then there was some language in, I'll call it trial attorney language, that to me was just unnecessary, and we took that out. So that's basically what it is. I'll have to.
You can look back at the previous bill.
Yeah, let's see. Is it 115? I thought it was later on. No, it's oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah, you're right. So if you look at LC 3394 S4 ERS, lines 115 is any person who suffers injury or damages as a result of violation of this code section may bring an action in any court of competent jurisdiction for actual damages, including general specific damages, which shall be presumed not less than $250 together with court costs. Court shall award 3 times actual damages for an intentional violation of this code section. I removed that language. That language is, to my knowledge, isn't in any other industry. It's not in any other code section. So we took that out, and then we made it clear. It says this act shall become effective on July 1, 2024, and shall apply to offenses committed or on or after such date. That language is important because there are current cases going on. And this legislation, as we know, when we pass legislation, it is for moving forward. And we're making it very clear that this legislation is not intended to influence those cases. This is simply moving forward. We're cleaning up this industry, and this is how it's going to be.
One extra comment, if I can. Senator Brass, did we need that one extra line regarding the retailer, the line 151 we talked about, or is that understood? That could be a Sarah question.
150.
151. That was the piece about the ingredients.
We're talking about line 151 of the most recent
The
substitute.
most recent one, yes, sir. Of the
Zero-
LC
520420S, line 151.
151.
Labeling complied with provisions of this code section?
Yeah, the very end of the conversation we had, we talked about if we needed an extra line in there to make sure regarding the retailers, what you just said earlier about they're protected if the label's correct and everything's,
Oh, no, I was summarizing what
okay, perfect.
What I think that section means.
Okay.
148 through 151 is that protection for the
All right.
retailer.
Okay.
Senator Lucas, you're on mic 12.
I understand that, but back to Senator Brass, are you saying to get 4 bites at that?
At
retail-
the retail level, there's enhanced penalties for each infraction.
I understand it, but
And then on the fourth one,
Okay.
then at that point,
then you say
we're
you didn't make a
saying-
mistake.
yeah, you've 3 strikes,
Yeah.
4 strike, you're out.
All right, let me ask you this. We make it 24. You don't think we need to make it 25? Because a lot of times these bills don't get signed until right at the last minute.
Explain that to me one more time now.
Well,
You're talking about
said-
effective date, is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm talking about the effective date. Now, normally, if this thing makes it through it and signed, and it goes down to governor, it might be one of the last bills signed.
So you're
And
saying
if
they're
you
not
put
going to have
that,
enough
and you put
time to-
24, I don't think it's enough time to get it out to everybody so they'll know what's going on
No, that's-
about it.
I mean, that's a fair point.
That's a fair point.
How much time would you say is?
That I don't know, cause I don't know when the governor signed it if the bill passed.
Well, he's going to have to sign it by,
40 days, right?
It's 40 days, yeah,
yeah,
40 days
so,
after we through.
April. So April
May.
1st.
I mean, that gives them 2 months, so.
I agree, but your
We'll be
point
done.
that you're
It's-
making is that for the retailers, you need to give them some time to put it in a case, you know, behind the counter, that kind of stuff.
In other words, to get the
Is-
directions out.
Is 6 months a reasonable time?
Get the procedures right, so
Right.
they are not left behind the 8 ball and said, we don't know what the law is.
Why don't we make it December 31st or something like that?
Yeah, I think that would be
January
enough time.
1, 2025.
All
Well,
right.
I mean, you can do it December
So,
24th, but I think you need enough time.
You want to change it
you know.
now?
Yeah, when we do amendments.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else with questions?
I think that's fair. Right.
I have a
The
question
Senator
stuff
Allred?
that kills you, get rid of that.
to the Senator Brass or to the author of the bill, but to dive in. The retailer, the language around the retailer, does that apply equally to the owner of the business as well as to the guy working the night shift, you know, at a minimum wage, who shows up and makes his 8 hours and goes home, or 10 hours or whatever?
It would apply to each. That's the way it's defined. The way I read it, the retailer would cover the clerk, and it would cover the retail owner. Because the retail owner is typically not going to be on site every single day, and so
That's right.
as long as they're not knowingly or criminal, if they knowingly do something or there's criminal negligence, they're going to be held to that higher standard, just like everybody is. But if it's simple negligence, then they are going to be held to a different standard than the processor.
Right, and so that applies to the hourly employee who works the third shift, who has
Shall not include
little to no knowledge.
They're mainly responsible for the 21 bit, the hourly employee.
Hold on. I missed something.
You don't have to have no stuff.
So if we look at the definition of retailer on line 30, I think that answers your question.
I'm sorry, I was,
Well,
got a lot
That
going
didn't
on.
capture what I was trying to. I don't.
33 and 34, that was the language I was looking
If
for.
we're drawing the
Yeah,
store
yeah, yeah.
employee out, then there's no penalty at all for that store employee.
I think that's accurate.
So that line needs to actually come out.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
Which one are you talking-
all
Say that
these
again.
so based on starting on line 33, that last sentence, such terms shall not include a store employee at a retailer's place of business. If we carve that employee out, then there are no penalties for them. So am I reading that right?
I think 4 bites at the apple is.
Ms. Crittenden, why don't you grab a mic? Why don't you let Ms. Crittenden,
Put it on witness.
or put
three.
it, why don't you do witness 3 there, right there?
Here, I'll help you.
Oh, excuse me.
Goodness gracious. Senator Lucas, you blocking and tackling over
I
there.
didn't know you were trying to do her.
Yeah, blocking and tackling. I got you. Okay. Witness
Impressive.
3 right there, Ms. Crittenden. Right there. Thank you.
I'm sorry. So we carved out store employees from retailer, but some of the penalties do apply when it says person. So some of the penalties say no person, and that would apply to an employee. That we've distinguished that so that if we do have a employee who's breaking the law, they will be penalized for certain penalties. I think those were for the underage selling.
And does that individual mean the same thing? Like individual in line 143? And 142?
So line 39 starts out no person. So an employee would be punished if they sold kratom to an underage person.
Okay.
And then line 56, is no person. That's about ingesting the kratom. And then line 66 is no person. So if an employee sells when it's not behind the counter, so we tried to carefully hold the right people responsible for that. And so, and then in the second code section, that's when we talk about retailers and processors. And so a store clerk or a store employee would not be punished in the same way that a retailer or a processor would. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You're not locking up the little old guy that they're trying to earn a buck.
Correct. 39 is the key, where the main thing they have to do is card.
But I think
And that's
4
expected.
4 bites at the apple is plenty enough. I mean, you
All
go
right.
3, don't look like you made a mistake.
Any other questions? Are we clear on this? Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question about the difference in the definition of adulterated and how that's changed. So previously, when we talked about adulterated kratom, it included anything that was mixed with a non-kratom substance that was not fit for eating, basically, or for ingestion. So I'm looking at the old one. So now in the new one, it just says adulterated shall have the same meaning, line 19. It's actually line 18 and 19 on the old one, and it's line 19 in this one. But we've narrowed the definition of adulterated, and I'm just wondering if I can get some explanation on that, because my understanding is that some of the issues with kratom is that it is mixed with other things, and that's partly what makes it deadly. So if by changing this definition to just whatever that code section says, do we still capture those dangerous products?
I'm going to defer to the attorney on that one.
Defer to my computer over there.
If you want to just take a minute to address that. Any other questions? No more questions. Excuse me. All right, other than this adulterated question, there's nothing else. Got anything
Yes.
else to say?
No, I just appreciate your diligence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator Orek.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is on page 2, the, in the definition of a processor, what is this, what does maintaining kratom products mean? I understand preparing, manufacturing, distributing.
I would presume that would be,
That
you
would be
keep it
like-
in the warehouse kind of thing.
Storing, correct.
Maintaining,
Yeah, is storage. Okay. Why don't we go at
it
ease
is
for a minute then?
warehousing.
Okay. We're going to go at ease for a minute, and we're going to come back online. That was taken out, and Ms. Crittenden looked up code section 26-26, and
So the prior version that you had, what added after 26, says or is mixed or packed with a non-kratom substance that is not approved for food or that renders the kratom product injurious to a consumer. And then if you go to 2626, there's a long, let's see, there are 12 itemized descriptors of what adulterated, what a food shall be deemed adulterated if, and there's a list, and one of those is if it's injurious to health. So I think it.
redundant and not necessary.
Correct.
I got it. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. I think all questions have been answered. It's a good one. Okay. All right. Well, there's a good question.
The question is, who is the enforcement body?
It's the local law enforcement.
Liquor law.
Local law.
Each county is going to decide how they want to do it, and I know in Glenn County,
Thank you.
they passed a local ordinance where code enforcement helps out the local sheriff's department and the police department. It would be your local law enforcement. That would be the enforcing body.
We're turning into judiciary here. Gotcha. Okay. All right. All right. I would like to recognize Senator Hodges.
Mr. Chairman, out of sheer exhaustion and in deference to my good friend from St. Simons, I move do pass.
Okay. We have a do pass. We have a second. Second from Senator Eccles. Okay. Any further discussion? I think this would be a good time to make the amendment to change the July to January 1, 2025, if someone would like to offer that amendment. Senator Brass, got a second. All those in favor of the amendment, let's do raise your hands. Okay, that's unanimous. Did I do that correct? We did that right? Okay. So now we have the bill, the substitute House Bill 181, and it will have a new LC, so this is substitute House Bill 181 as amended. Okay.
And you have the new date on there, correct, too? Don't forget about that.
That's what we just did with.
Okay, just
that
making
amendment
sure.
Was
Yeah.
the new date. As amended, the amendment passed, so now we're in the stature of passing the bill. All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous again. Okay. All right, and thank you, Representative Townsend. Chairman Brass is going to be carrying it, and it'll be going to rules. Okay?
Thank you.
All right,
Sincerely, thank you.
Ooh. Yes. All righty. Representative Wilcox. House Bill 502. No substitute, LC 339413.
And I come to you all this afternoon with House Bill 502. House Bill 502 was brought to me by the Dermatologists Association, and I want to acknowledge we have Dr. Alex Gross, who is an esteemed dermatologist, also serves on our Georgia Medical Composite Board, and he's here to offer any additional explanation or testimony as needed. House Bill 502 has two main parts. Number one, it updates the definition of cosmetic laser services in the Georgia Code to include all advanced dermatological treatments such as ultrasound, cryolipolysis, and microwave treatments. And Section 2 revises the supervision requirements of an assistant laser practitioner by eliminating on-site supervision of a senior laser practitioner which is similar to other areas of the code due to workforce pressures and other things. It doesn't eliminate any of the educational requirements for either the assistant or the senior laser practitioner. Again, the senior laser practitioner would still be supervising the assistant, but they could be off-site under this new legislation.
Thank you so much. Any questions? At the risk of delaying this, I would like to recognize Dr. Gross. If you wouldn't mind coming to the podium, if nothing further than to thank you for your service on the Composite Medical Board. That is a thankless position, a very tough position, and we appreciate you being here. Anything that you have to add to this?
No, thank you, Senator Watson. Thank you, members of the committee. The point of this is to try and just update the law. When the law was initially passed, most of the devices that we were using were all light-based, and the board has received lots of questions about about devices which are not light-based, and those are the ones that are enumerated in the change to the law. So if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, and I thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you. And you're comfortable from a dermatologist standpoint, you're comfortable from a Composite Medical Board standpoint?
Yes, actually, this piece of legislation originated from the medical board, but the Georgia Society of Dermatology and Dermatologic Surgery is on board with this too.
Great. Thank you so much. Any
Thank you.
questions from the committee? Dr. Kirkpatrick, number two.
Thank you very much. The only question that I had is that there's a little bit of a laundry list of different things: ultrasound, cryolipolysis, microwave radiofrequency device. Sometimes when we do that, the technology then changes, and 2 years later, or 5 years later, or 10 years later, we have to go back and change the law again. Do you anticipate anything like that?
So that is a most excellent question. And the answer to the question is that it's strongly possible that if you wanted to add a clause that says, or other devices as determined by the board, then that would be okay with us. Or if you just want to leave it the way it is, but that's entirely possible. I can tell you that in the 12 years since the law was passed, that these are the new technologies. But I certainly can't predict the future, and there's always a possibility that other new technologies will come about, and that 10 years from now there might be some other things that we would want to consider.
I'll do pleasure of the committee. Sometimes less is better, but I'm certainly open to the committee process. Got another question from Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to get some clarity around, you said, Representative Silcox, that there would still require supervision from a senior practitioner. Where is that?
Correct.
So let me tell you that line that says, can I have that?
It's line 36 and 37.
Yeah. So this is internally inconsistent with the rest of the code. So, this is not the entire code here, but if you look through the rest of the code is very, very specific in detailing when supervision is necessary. So, for instance, there are 2 carve-outs for laser hair removal and intense pulse light. And it says that, you don't need a supervisor at all for those things. That the rest of the technologies require an examination from a physician or a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner if those duties have been delegated to them by the physician. So it's spelled out very, very clearly in other parts of the law. This was, as I said, it was internally inconsistent with, and we would get questions about this. Why does it say that? In the earlier part of the law, it says you don't have to do that. So.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I'm actually okay with leaving it alone. I just wanted their thoughts.
Less is better. We have another question, though.
Just the date at the end, is there any problem with leaving that alone, the January 1st, 2024? I'm fine with it if it means it doesn't have to go. Is this the bill that passed out of the House, or have we changed it?
It doesn't have a date.
Maybe I've got the
no.
wrong bill.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
looking
I'm on the
for
wrong
what
bill.
you were
Never mind.
referring to.
Never
I
mind.
think that was the Kratom bill.
Can we
Okay, so-
delete that
so-
from being online?
Yeah.
It's a
So,
joke.
so is this the same bill that passed out of the House, or have we done a substitute?
Yes, sir. No.
Okay, great.
Same bill.
And that would be
All
another
right,
reason.
so
to
does
leave it
that recognize you for a due pass unless, is that okay, Chairman Huffstetler?
alone. Sure.
Due pass. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, unanimous, and thank you, Senator, Representative Silcox. Did you have somebody that was going to carry that for you?
Kay said she would, or Senator
Okay.
Kirkpatrick, rather.
Senator Kirkpatrick.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Might have a amendment on the floor. Or not. Just joking. All right. Any further business, good and welfare? If not, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.